Welcome to our UJV Africa series about Kenya. We're excited to have you here. I am very excited to introduce Gail Lehman, head of UJV Africa, as well as Matthew Huntley. And I'm sorry, I lost it. As well as Matthew Huntley and the Ishara Mara team. Gail, the floor is all yours. Thank you.
Hi guys, welcome everybody. Thank you all for joining us today. Before we dive in, just again, welcome to Matt. He is the camp manager at Ishara Mara, and he's joined by Jagdeep, who is the head of sales. Ishara is one of the most remarkable properties in the Mara, and Matt and Jagdeep will help bring this property and the Mara alive for you with some ground level perspective later in the presentation. I also want to take a moment just to introduce UJV Africa. The people you see on this slide are your dedicated Africa specialists. They have spent the majority of their professional lives in Africa, not reading about it, but traveling there, boots on the ground, building relationships. And what I really love about this team is their depth of knowledge and their true passion for Africa. So when you bring us your Kenya inquiry, you are talking to someone who has personally eaten breakfast with the giraffes at the manor, walked the Mara at dawn, and slept under the canvas with sounds of the bush around them. They get it. They understand the magic. But what you don't see on this slide is the full engine behind every trip we build. We have 5 trip coordinators that support this team and your clients. We have 3 in-country operations specialists, and we have 2 in-country guest experience specialists. And of course, we have Simon Jones, who most of you know, our Director of Advisor Partnerships. When you bring us a Kenya inquiry, this entire team goes to work for you and your client. So with that, let's go to Kenya. So what can we expect today? For the next hour or so, everything we share today is meant to be advisor first, meaning we've structured this specifically around the questions you get from clients, the objections you hear, and the logistical puzzles that can often make or break a Kenya proposal, given how we speak to them. So if you can speak to them in a way that builds confidence, that helps the client feel confident in booking with you. We'll cover real itinerary pacing, not just a list of lodges, and we'll leave plenty of time for questions and answers at the end. And after this presentation, as somebody has already asked, our marketing team will send out this deck together with an agent-facing deck on how to book Africa with UJV. Think of this deck as your cheat sheet for Kenya. So let's dive into Kenya, the Hemingway Safari. When a client says, I want to go to Africa, 90% of the time, they are picturing Kenya. That opening tile that we had, the background, the savannah, these are the things that they picture. The golden horizons that seem to go on forever, that primal feeling of being somewhere that hasn't changed in a million years, that lone acacia tree, we call this the Hemingway Safari, because this is where the very idea of safari was born. And that romance is still completely intact today. On this slide, we discuss the 4 pillars. Sorry, Murray. I want you to hold on to these pillars as the backbone of every Kenya conversation you'll have. The first is those iconic vistas. These aren't just pretty views. They are the landscapes that look like the opening shot of a movie. Your clients have seen them their whole lives. And when they dream of going on safari, this is the dream. Second is the successful conservation story that is Kenya. It's not a trend in Kenya, it is its legacy. Kenya's conservation story is one of the most powerful and emotionally resonant stories in travel. Your clients have read about it, they have heard about it, and they want to experience it. Third, deep cultural roots. The Masai and the Samburu people are not a performance put on for tourists. They are the living, breathing heartbeat of this land, and their connection to it is what makes Kenya feel different from anywhere else on earth. And fourth, the raw energy. This place is untamed in a way that is genuinely hard to find in the modern world. There is no sanitized version of Kenya. When you're here, you feel it in your bones. And on this next slide, we understand the why, what the emotional anchors are. Those film icons. Kenya is essentially a film set come to life. Let me give you 3 emotional anchors that will transform the way your clients are thinking about this destination. Masai Mara sits on the exact hillside where the iconic Out of Africa picnic was filmed. I was there in November, and I swear I actually heard the opening soundtrack when I stood on that rock and looked at that view. When your clients step onto that escarpment and look down at the Mara below them, they will feel that they have walked into the film. On the Barana Conservancy up in Laikipia, Lion's Rock served as the real-world inspiration for Pride Rock in The Lion King. If you have clients with children or clients who were children in '94 and still know every word of Circle of Life, this is a genuine physical connection to something that they love. Lingishu House, which is an exclusive use property on Barana, puts you right on its doorstep. And then there is the legendary yellow gypsy moth biplane from Out of Africa. It now sits at the Segera Retreat in Laikipia, not a replica, but the actual plane. These are the emotional anchors to Kenya that make people yearn to experience it firsthand. But still, clients are going to ask you, what is the difference between a Kenya safari and a South African safari? And we address that in this next slide. This is one of the most important conversations that you will have with an Africa client or with a client wanting to travel to Africa. And it's not about which destination is better. It's about which version of safari resonates with them. So every time a Kenya inquiry hits your desk, your first job is not to pick a lodge, not even to think about what the itinerary looks like. It's to understand the energy your client is seeking. South Africa, when we think about safari in South Africa and we think about Sabi Sands and the Greater Kruger National Park, that is refined sophistication. The game is incredibly dense, it's close. You can often spot the big 5 before breakfast. The infrastructure is exceptional, the logistics are smooth, and it feels settled. For a client who wants consistency, proximity, and the kind of safari where every morning delivers these guaranteed wow, close encounters with game at close range, South Africa is the right answer. Kenya is something entirely different. Kenya is boundless and it's unfiltered. The plains don't end. The view from those rocky outcrops in Samburu are jaw-dropping. Because the vistas are so massive, animals can be miles away on a horizon. It requires a different kind of patience, and it rewards that patience with a feeling that is genuinely impossible to replicate anywhere else. You are not watching wildlife in a contained reserve. You are living inside an ecosystem that has functioned this way with these animals, with these people for millions of years. And this is probably the most critical distinction I can give you, is the culture. In Kenya, the Masai and the Samburu are not just staff in camp. In many cases, they are the owners of the very conservancies where you are staying. Their heritage is not a gimmick put on for tourists. It is real, it is deep, and it is the heartbeat of the cradle of safari. And on the next slide, we get into the meat of this, logistics. Many advisors feel uncertain about Kenya's logistics. Hopefully, this slide will help resolve some of those questions. This is where Kenya can feel overwhelming if you don't have the right map in your head. Here's the most important thing to know. Nairobi is your hub, and it's a two-airport city. We have the international flights that come into Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, sometimes spoken about as JKIA or NBO. And then we have Wilson Airport. Now, Wilson Airport is a regional airport. It's about an hour transfer across town from your international airport. And this is where all of those planes that fly out into the rest of Kenya and take your clients on safari, this is where they fly from. So Wilson is roughly about a 45-minute flight to the Masai Mara in the southwest. And that's your crown jewel. And about an hour north of that, we get you to Samburu and Laikipia. The Southern Circuit, which comes down to Amboseli and Savo, is about a 45 to 60-minute flight. And this is the reason we prioritize flying. Why spend 6 hours on a dusty road when you can get on a plane at 10 in the morning and be in camp by lunch and be out on the afternoon game drive by 4? Flights are typically in small fixed-wing aircraft that depart Wilson in the morning. They make several stops, dropping off and picking up passengers at the various airstrips along the way, and they return in the afternoon, bringing travelers back to Nairobi. There are several aircraft carriers at Wilson. There's not just one, there's several. These are scheduled flights. We do have private charters that depart from Wilson. It's a small airport again. It's easy to navigate. Clients can store luggage here. So those luggage weight limitations that are imposed by small bush flights, the need for soft-sided bags, need not cause too much concern for your clients that are moving on maybe to another destination or want to do some shopping. They can store their luggage and their shopping at Wilson Airport. What this map tells us is that Kenya is very accessible once you understand the air network. So a 10-night itinerary is comfortably covered by 3 completely different destinations and completely different ecosystems. You can easily do a 10-night itinerary and not spend days in transit. It's quick and it's easy to get from one destination to another. Hopefully that helps you feel more grounded on the logistics. In the next slide, we help you match the client to the destination. So this is your prescription pad. When you get this deck, you can refer back to this when talking to a client, how to match their wildlife wish list to the region. Once you've identified that your client is a Kenya client, the next step is understanding what is the right region. Where are we going to send them on their trip? Because Kenya is not one place. It's completely different experiences stitched together by these short flights. When we talk about Amboseli, this is your bucket list elephant shot, those giant tuskers framed against Mount Kilimanjaro as we saw on that opening slide. This is your best family option alongside the Mara Triangle. Why do I say that? Game is close. Kids don't typically want to be looking at game through a binocular. They want it to be close and personal. You're going to have this in Amboseli and the Mara. Samburu, you're going to get different animal species here. You're going to have the special 5, that reticulated giraffe, the gravy zebra, your Besa oryx, Somali ostrich, your gerenuk, a completely different ecosystem from the Mara. Your repeat Kenya client who has done the Southern Circuit and wants something genuinely new, this is a great option for them. Culturally rich, a strong Samburu community presence here, and also the home of the Reteti Elephant Orphanage, which is also an exceptional experience, especially for families. And then Laikipia. This is an active hub. Camel's tracks, horseback safaris, rhino conservation walks. This is great for your adventure-focused family or an active couple. This is also where you'll find Lions Rock, the Pride Rock inspiration, and some amazing exclusive use bush villas in this area, which is great for those multi-gen families. And then we have Savo. Savo is the Wild West, and we have Savo in Chilu Hills. So Savo is the Wild West of Kenya. It's Kenya's largest national park. This is where you're going to see red-dusted elephants and vast, untamed landscape. It's raw in a completely different way from the Mara. Chilu Hills has got incredible ancient volcanic hills draped in a cloud forest and feels almost prehistoric. This is Kenya's hidden soul. It's also an elephant corridor and offers extraordinary solitude for those that are wanting to get away from it, who want that perfect romantic adventure, and pairs really well with their move for that romantic beach finish. So this circuit would be great for the client who wants to be off the beaten path and wants to have a lot of solitude away from the crowds. The crown jewel, of course, the Masai Mara. This is where the migration takes place. This is the resident Big 5 year-round. This is the iconic Hemingway safari that people dream of. And your first-time Kenya client almost always ends their safari in the Masai Mara. And then when you're booking with UJV, we are always looking how to create real moments for your clients. So those private helicopter flips to hidden volcanic lakes, those remote, extraordinary lakes that are completely off the public radar are something that we also introduce to your clients as part of their itinerary. And on the next slide, we'll talk about seasonality, when to send them. So here, Kenya's seasons are nuanced, and understanding the seasons will help you guide the conversation when a client asks, when is the best time to go to Kenya? In January to February, that is the short dry season. That is around 80, these are in Celsius. Fahrenheit, that's around 84 degrees. Peak game density, an excellent time for families with young children. Lots of game, real density. March, we call this a transition. Temperatures are around 82 degrees. Humidity rises. It's still really lush, dramatic scenery. April, May, this is where we guide clients away in April and May. Why? It's the long rains. This is where we have torrential rain. Camps close. The soil is black cotton soil, which makes it impassable. Vehicles get stuck. Game drives generally are not possible. So temperature around 77 degrees Fahrenheit, but not a time I recommend for safari. June through September, this is our peak. This is peak dry season. It's around 75 degrees Fahrenheit, really temperate. This is migration season. This is the time we start to see those river crossings. This is also the highest price, the highest demand. So if you have clients wanting to travel June through September, you need to be looking 12 to 18 months ahead, especially for multi-gen families. It is a lovely time of year, great photography light, peak season though, and pricing does reflect that. October, this is a secret. This is around 77 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's a sweet spot. Post the peak crowds, short rains, so it's starting to get green. Prices soften from the July-September high season. So for budget-conscious luxury client who is not focused on the migration, this is a real window of opportunity. And then November through mid-December, something we call our secret season or green season. I was there in November last year, and it is magical. Temperatures are around 78 degrees Fahrenheit. Emerald green landscapes, truly unbelievably green. Newborn animals everywhere. Exceptional bird watching. All of those birds from Europe are flying south for the summer. Really amazing birding. Lower prices, fewer crowds. And the Mara really is at its most cinematically beautiful during this time. So a great opportunity if you have people who are flexible with dates to really experience a magical season. And on this next slide, let's talk about the migration, the Great Migration. The number one misconception you are going to address is correcting the client in the understanding that the Great Migration is not just a 1-month event. The Great Migration is a year-round cycle. So when clients say, I want to see the migration, what they usually mean is I want to be right in the place at the right time to see the river crossings. And it is a very different problem to solve, but one that does play to our advantage. The herds follow the rain. In November and December, they're on the southern Serengeti plains for calving season. Here, you will experience over 500,000 newborns, meaning every predator in the ecosystem is engaged. This is genuinely one of the most dramatic wildlife spectacles on Earth and remains significantly less crowded than that July-October crossing season. For clients with date flexibility, this is a powerful upsell. Pairs really well with that October season in the Mara. It's a powerful upsell, amazing photographic light, fewer vehicles, and drama that is different but equally jaw-dropping. Then in January through March, the herds are still in the Ndutu area and the short grassy plains, still offering exceptional photographic moments. April through June, they begin moving, driven by their need for grazing and the rains. They start moving north up through the Western Corridor. July through October, this is what everyone is picturing. The northern Serengeti and the Masai Mara with those iconic river crossing. And those are the main event. When the migration is the primary focus of a safari, when a client wants to go to see the migration, our strategy is to position clients in both the Mara and the Serengeti. A simple flight connects the two, and by connecting the two, we dramatically increase the statistical chance of witnessing a crossing. And whichever side the migration is present, your clients are still going to enjoy incredible resident game sightings. But when it is migration focused, this is your best option of giving them those sightings. On the next slide, we address the elephant in the room when it comes to the river crossing. As I mentioned earlier, the iconic river crossings happen July through October. And yes, this has been in the news because of the crowding and the bad behavior at popular crossing points. And your clients will ask about this. Here's how to solve that. We use camps in private concessions that have access to exclusive crossing points away from the public reserve. Your clients can witness the full drama of a crossing without the sea of minibuses that can make the public reserve feel like a wildlife traffic jam. Or, and this is the other solution, which is just as powerful, you place your clients at properties like Ishara Mara, which sit inside the reserve itself, but have mastered the art of navigating it quietly. Strategic timing, expert route selection, deep local knowledge of where the crossings are happening away from the crowds. We're going to hear a lot more about Ishara soon, and it will change the way you think about what's possible inside the reserve. So this connects directly to our next slide. Private concessions versus national parks. This is a #1 selling tool, and it's important to understand the difference between a private concession and a national park and how you experience it. Now, the Masai Mara National Reserve is legendary. It is one of the greatest wildlife destinations on Earth, full stop. The question isn't whether the reserve delivers. It does. The question is how you experience it. Private conservancies unlock a completely different mode of safari. They allow for off-roading, night drives, walking safaris, and often being the only vehicle at a sighting. That freedom changes everything about the rhythm of a game drive. Camps on private concessions are priced higher as a result. Inside the reserve, the magic is real, but it requires a different kind of expertise. You need a property that knows how to navigate it with intention. Strategic timing, quiet routing, the knowledge of where to be and when, that is a skill, and not every camp inside the reserve has it. We'll talk about Ishara later as one that does. Here's the important nuance. The conservancies are not fenced. The animals move freely between the reserve and the conservancies. You don't see any more or any less animals on a conservancy. You are seeing the same wildlife. The difference is entirely in how you experience it. The vehicles in the reserve cannot follow where your vehicle in a conservancy can go. For properties like Ishara that sit inside the reserve itself, the formula is different. They compensate with expert quiet safari navigation, strategic timing and intimate route planning, and the knowledge to find sightings away from the minibus clusters. I was at Ishara in November, and this is exactly why Ishara was recognized as our partner of the year. And with that, I am happy to hand over to Matt, who will introduce Ishara and some of what we've spoken about.
Yes, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much, Gail, for that very kind introduction. And thank you as well to you and the UJV team for putting this amazing webinar together, highlighting Kenya as an incredible safari destination and indeed for giving myself and Jagdeep the opportunity to talk a little bit about our amazing paradise in the wild here in the Mara. So yeah, if we can go to the next slide, we'll get right into it. I am live here from the Masai Mara. As you can see, there are canvas walls right behind me. I can hear the hippos honking from the water hole as well. So yeah, I'm living the in the thick of it here. So yeah, who are we at Ishara? What do we do, and what makes us so special? There's lots to talk about here. So. I'll keep it as brief as possible. I could probably talk for 2 hours, but I will try my best to keep it brief. So we are a boutique, ultra luxury, ultra exclusive property located on the banks of the Talek River. We have only 10 suites. So, of course, as I mentioned, we are a boutique, we are exclusive. We have seven river suites within that 10, two family suites. And pictured here on the slide, you can see our incredible villa suite as well. All of our rooms are set as kings. They can, of course, be twins and indeed triples. The family suite has a master and an annex with two queen beds as well, so that's absolutely ideal for parents with kids or indeed groups of friends. We've had multiple groups of friends who have taken the family suites as well. But the villa is, of course, our highest room category. As you can see here, it has an incredible private pool and a private campfire deck. There are two identical river suites on either side. And in the middle there, we have an amazing private dining and private living space as well. But as I mentioned, each of the suites is on the river and has its own private viewing deck. And because of our incredible location, our guests often see and hear wildlife by sitting right there on their deck. So it's a really unique place. Our riverine forest is abundant with bird life. So for any of the birders out there, and certainly if you have clients are into birds, our forest alone it has 300 to 400 different species of birds. So all you can hear when you're in your rooms is the sound of nature, the sounds of the birds singing. There's nothing like waking up to the dawn chorus. You don't even need to set your alarm. It's really incredible. And in terms of our location, as I mentioned, we're on the banks of the Talek River. We're only a 10-minute drive away from the Old Kiombo airstrip, which, as Gail has already alluded to, is only a 45-minute to 60-minute flight away from Nairobi. So super accessible. Lots of different commercial airlines that fly to the Mara, along with private air charters. So access is super easy. You have your flight at 7 in the morning, and by 8 you're already at Ishara. So it's really incredible. And we have access to both sides of the main reserve, which is unique to our property. What that means is that depending on what's happening with the wildlife, depending on what's going on with the wildlife sightings, our guides can decide to go on either side of the river and give our guests that magical experience. We do have a footbridge that crosses the river as well. So we've even had guests who will come from a safari, mid safari, cross the bridge and jump in another vehicle to go on the other side because there's something exciting happening. So that really gives us a unique position within the reserve. And we have a real abundance of resident wildlife in very close proximity to the camp. As I've already mentioned, we often see elephants passing by camp. We see the giraffes passing by. We have a resident lion pride that's not too far away, so we always hear them roaring in the night. So yeah, we have an excellent location that has great access and has lots of wildlife within very close proximity. We also have complementary access to the Mara Triangle. Obviously, very important during the migration season, enabling us to access the Mara River from the Triangle side. But also equally important to have throughout the year because the Mara Triangle is a gorgeous a gorgeous location to visit. So if guests are here outside of migration season and they would like to visit the Mara Triangle, then of course, we can do that. And it's only about a 45-minute drive away from here to the Mara Bridge Gate. So yeah, very close. Of course, privacy, exclusivity, bespoke experience is a key part of what we offer here at Ishara. So, in contrast to many other camps who will charge your clients for a private Land Cruiser, with us, it's completely included within the rate. So, every guest gets a private Land Cruiser, of course, their private safari guide. And what that allows is complete and total flexibility for their safari schedule, for their game drives. They can decide what time they go out in the morning. They can decide what time they come back. They can decide how much time they spend with a particular animal, without worrying about what other guests might be feeling or thinking. So that's a really important part of what we offer, along with our bespoke private experiences. Again, all of our sundowner experiences that we offer out in the bush, our bush breakfast experience. We have lots of beautiful locations, private locations, within the Mara where that we use for our bush experiences. The particular highlight being the pizza sundowner, which I know Gail has experienced, and guests absolutely love that. It's a really unique experience to be having a freshly baked pizza by the river, here in the Masai Mara as the sun goes down. And along with our private sundowner experiences, also the dining experiences within property are completely private as well. So we curate the guest experience as they go through their stay with us in order to give them access to different spaces throughout the camp. So that they always feel like they're the only guests in the property, whether that be dining at our campfire, dining at our wine cellar, or even dining by the pool. So we have lots of different beautiful spaces that we use to curate private dining experiences for our guests. And even in high season, with the way the property has been designed, it never feels full. So that's quite unique to our property as well. Um, Wellness is, of course, a huge part of the shower experience, and I think the safari industry in general, the safari experience in general, has started to evolve more and more to consider wellness as a part of the holistic experience. It's not just about the wildlife; it's about reconnecting with yourself, reconnecting with the people that you're traveling with, and disconnecting from the outside world and really giving yourself that time to look after your own well-being. So we have a holistic wellness experience here. We have an incredible heated pool. We have a Nordic spa, which has a beautiful wood-fired sauna, a cold plunge for those who are brave enough to jump in some freezing cold water. We have a beautiful hot tub. And then up in the treetops of our riverine forest, up in the canopy, is our beautiful sanctuary, the Aya Spa, where our incredible team of therapists offer a range of amazing scrubs, all the way from Himalayan salt scrubs to the purifying clay experience, and of course, lots of different massages as well. We also have a yoga deck that faces the sunrise, and our elevated gym, again, which faces the sunrise, which has an amazing free weight section and a cardio section. And I think it's better equipped than almost any hotel gym that you will find anywhere. And you can't beat it when you can be training and watching a herd of elephant grazing or foraging in the trees just in front of you at sunrise. It's really unique. Um, Speaking of unique, we also have our Starbed experience, which is entirely unique to us as we're the only property in the Masai Mara that has a starbed. So this is an elevated platform with a king size bed, that enables you to literally look up at the stars at night, look up at the Milky Way, listen to the sounds of the Mara as you fall asleep, um, and really just reconnect with nature in a way that is totally unmatched with any other experience. I feel so. Yeah, you will see a picture. You will see a picture of that on the next slide. Um, and also just on that, sorry, the next slide, but we'll get to this part. Just on the different room categories and everything. I just encourage you to have a look on our website. We have incredible 3D room tours, which really show all the different details of the rooms. So have a little look at that, please. We have lots of gorgeous content on there and on Instagram as well. So um, yeah, that was a little bit about what we are as a property. Now I need to address something that I know is a big concern for a lot of people considering the main reserve here in the Masai Mara. I'm seeing a question about the Canon Photo Lab. I'm going to get to that on the next slide. Don't worry, because that is a very important part about what we do. So I will get to that in the next slide. But um, yeah, the main reserve. I'm sure plenty of you have seen things in the news, on social media, about the vehicles, about how certain operators behave here in the main reserve. And it's really important for us to address that because here at Ishara, we have a wildlife first and ethical guiding approach to every single game drive that we do here in the main reserve. For us, it's much more important to give wildlife space, um, to ensure that there's zero pressure on wildlife, to ensure that we're not influencing the natural behavior of wildlife in any way. So our guides are extremely well trained. They're all local Maasai from the area. They understand and can read animal behavior exceptionally well. And for us, it's not about how close you can get to an animal. It's about giving wildlife space, quietly observing, and allowing nature to unfold in front of you. You don't need to be 2 meters away from a lion or 1 meter away from an elephant. It's more special to see that animal behave completely naturally and be alone with that animal than it is to be up close with lots of other vehicles. So how do we manage that? Our guides, of course, know this place like the back of their hands. They tactically choose their routes to avoid any high value sightings where there will be a lot of vehicles. Um, they they don't use the radios as often. We only communicate on our own internal Ishara channel. So that allows our guides to go and search for their own things, go search for their own wildlife, search for their own sightings. You know, the Mara is a big place. It's 1,500 square kilometers. It's not a 10 kilometer zoo park. There is so much to see and so much to explore here in the Mara, and that is what our guides focus on 100% of the time. Because of also our unique location, we are able to head out very early before the sun rises and indeed come back or after the sun has set as well. So if there are high value encounters that our guests would like to see, then we have the ability and the opportunity to wait for everyone to leave and then to go there and give our guests that real private, magical experience without the crowds around. So, yeah, as I mentioned, wildlife first, ethical guiding is really at the core of what we do here at Ishara. Um, Along with storytelling, you know, safari is not just about seeing the big five within 2 hours. It's about learning about culture. It's about understanding the environment and the ecosystem that guests are exploring. And that's a big part of what our guides do. You know, it's about getting down from the vehicle, touching the grass, looking at the marks on the tree that the elephant has been rubbing its body on, looking at the lion tracks in the mud. It's about much more than just being close to wildlife. So, yeah, that's our guides focus on taking our guests on a journey, and yeah, we really do our best to lead ethical safaris every single day. So, of course, I'm sure there might be more questions on that in the Q&A, and I'm happy to address those as well. Yeah, so we can move to the next slide. So yes, here I will talk about the photography experience. You can also see a little bit more of some beautiful imagery of our camp. So the complimentary 360 photography experience is an absolutely key part of what we do at Ishara. We do have a Canon brand partnership, which means that we have an incredible array of camera bodies and camera lenses here in our photo studio. And when I say 360, what I mean is that guests can take those cameras out with them on safari. We have a team of resident photographers here. We have 4 resident photographers here. So they can also join guests on safari, teach them wildlife photography, teach them photography in general. Um, then when they come back to camp, they can sit down and do an editing class in our photo studio as well. So they can continue that learning journey throughout their stay. We also offer guest photo shoots, which is a key highlight for a lot of guests. They love that opportunity to be able to take memories home from their experience here at Ishara. Instead of just having iPhone pictures, they get real professional photos of their stay, which is really incredible. And also, we offer complimentary prints as well. So if guests want to take one of their wildlife photos home with them, or indeed one of their family photos home with them, we have a Canon printer here in the studio that we can print some amazing images for them. And again, all of this is complimentary. So uh, there are a few other luxury operators that offer a photography experience, um, but none of them will offer it complimentary. So that is completely unique to us. We don't believe in charging extra for our guests for that. We believe in offering that as part of the package. Moving on to how we deliver our service. Everything here at Ishara is extremely personalized. We truly believe in taking guests on a journey. It's not just about their safari experience or their wellness experience. We believe in connecting with guests. We believe in understanding why it is they're here, what are their preferences, um, what is it that they really like. And to do that, as I mentioned, we have a private safari guide. One of our management team is assigned to all of our guests. A private butler is assigned to all of our guests, and a room steward is assigned to each of our guests as well. So that gives us the opportunity to really get to know our guests, to really understand them, and to truly give them transformational, life-changing journeys while they're with us. And that's down to the little details as well. It's my belief that true luxury comes from thoughtfulness more than anything. And just a small little anecdote that evidences that quite nicely. A couple of months ago, we had some Portuguese guests here, and I was talking to them about their favorite desserts, and they mentioned pastel de nata. Some of you might be familiar with that. Um, so I went to my pastry chef, Kyoko, and I said to him, "Hey, Kyoko, these guests love pastel de nata. Can we make it?" He'd never made it before in his life, but he was like, "Yes, absolutely, I'll give it a shot." And the next evening, for dessert, we had pastel de nata on the menu, and the guests were just blown away. They could not believe that we would do something like that, just quickly like that. So it's those little details, it's those little thoughtful touches that I really refer to when I say that we curate highly personalized journeys. So yeah, that's a big part of the Ishara experience. The wellness stuff we've touched on, the Starbed as well. But yeah, we're ultra lucky. We're an authentic tented safari camp. Despite the luxuriousness that you can see in the images, there are canvas walls everywhere. So I can assure you that you feel the breeze, you hear the sounds of nature all day, all night. And it's a truly authentic safari experience here at Ishara. Um, and I just want to mention one more thing in terms of how life-changing and how deeply emotional an Ishara experience can be. It's a little bit about my own story. I was once a guest here at Ishara back in 2022, one of the first ever guests actually, and here I am 4 years later running day-to-day operations. So I don't think there's a better illustration or testament to how special this place really is than that. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed learning a little bit about Ishara. There is so much more to talk about and so much more to show you, but I hope you've learned a little bit about what we do and what the safari experience really means to us. And yeah, thank you, Gail and the team for this. And I look forward to answering some of your questions in the Q&A section as well.
Right. Thanks so much, Matt. And yes, just to touch on that, we see the questions coming in, which we will answer after the presentation. But I think now you can also understand why we and our clients love Ishara as much as we do. So let's move on with the rest of the presentation. And in the next slide, we are going to discuss some of those golden rules of logistics and luxury. These are your non-negotiables and separate a good Kenya itinerary from a great one. Rule 1, always plan 1 to 2 nights in Nairobi upon arrival. International flights seldom arrive in time to connect directly to a safari flight. Remember, international flights arrive into Jomo Kenyatta International, and bush flights depart from Wilson. So there is clearing customs and immigration, and then there's an hour transfer. So seldom is that an opportunity to get into camp same day. Besides, you really do want your clients to land and to decompress and to begin their Kenya story with spending a night in one of the incredible Nairobi properties rather than arriving into camp exhausted. Rule number 2, Giraffe Manor should never go on the first night. And let me explain why this matters. Check-in at the manor is at noon. Afternoon tea with the giraffes is at 5, and check-out is a strict 10 a.m. If you book it first, your clients will miss so much of the experience because of flight arrival times, and flight delays may actually mean they miss the experience entirely. Book this as your grand finale on their last night after returning from the bush. The Mara flights typically land at Wilson around 12:20, which means they arrive at the manor perfectly in time for check-in, and they arrive rested. They've had this incredible safari experience. They're on a high, and now they can really enjoy the Giraffe Manor. So they arrive rested. They're ready to enjoy having their tea with the giraffes. So sequencing here is everything. Something very important to note. Giraffe Manor has a 2-year waitlist for peak season. You need to lead with this when presenting to clients who might be thinking about Giraffe Manor. Scarcity is real. So if they want to go to Giraffe Manor during peak season, you need to get this out. They need to start planning early. If they have flexibility, that is always best, because then we can plan an itinerary around Giraffe Manor. So very important, understand if this is a deal breaker. Rule 3, Shedrick Wildlife Trust. They do 2 private visits a day. Please, you need to also book this a year in advance. Without exception, this experience consistently ranks as one of the most emotionally powerful experiences of any Kenya trip. So again, if you have a family, if you have somebody who wants to have this experience, it's well worth it. But with only 2 private visits a day, they fill up fast. So on our next slide, we discuss some sample itineraries. So these are meant as conversation starters. These are not blueprints. Every great itinerary starts with your client's vision. These frameworks cover the most common client types we see. and I'm going to walk you through them quickly. The classic first-time circuit, Nairobi to Samburu to Borana to Masai Mara, ending at Giraffe Manor, is one we come back to again and again. It is for that first Kenya visitor because it covers 3 completely different ecosystems. It gives them the special 5 in the Samburu, the out of Africa emotion of Borana, the migration drama of the Mara, sorry, the out of Africa emotion of Borana and the migration drama of the Mara. And then there's the unforgettable Giraffe Manor as the finale. For families, the Land of Giants circuit. That's Amboseli and the Masai Mara. It's an incredibly strong circuit, high wildlife density, those Kilimanjaro elephant shots, no binoculars needed, and excellent family properties and exclusive use family bush villas. The next one we're looking at here is the romantic adventure. That's Chulu Hills, Savo, Masai Mara, and ending on the coast of Kenya in Lamu. This is for couples who want something genuinely different. Volcanic landscapes, extraordinary solitude, and then that ancient Swahili culture of Lamu. And that also offers that romantic beach finale. So this also suits clients that are returning to Kenya for a second safari. For multi-gen families, Laikipia and the Masai Mara offer truly exceptional, exclusive use villas that cater to varying interests and taste. So this is perfect for families and friends that want to be together, but not always. They have different interests that are easily catered to. And then we have the final one, our migration circuit. And here, as referenced earlier, this is where we're going to pair both the Serengeti and the Mara, which is essentially hedging our bets that your clients will witness a river crossing and the spectacle of observing a herd of close to 2 million wildebeest and zebra in motion. And that leads to the next question, budget. So on this next slide, setting investment expectations. Don't be shy about the numbers. Qualified luxury clients respect honest pricing conversations. It helps build trust. Kenya is a premium destination and the price drivers are real. Internal flights, park and concession fees, conservation levies can account for almost 25% of the total trip cost, and that's before a single night at a lodge. And this is also why we say have that night in Nairobi at the beginning. Your safari is the most expensive part of your trip cost. You don't want to miss it because the flight has been delayed and you miss a connection. When clients ask about these fees, here's how to frame them. Those fees are doing something incredibly important. They are funding the conservation that keeps this ecosystem alive. When your client pays those fees, they're not just paying to visit. They're active participants in one of the world's most successful wildlife preservation stories. Luxury entry point in low season starts at around $1,200 per person per night, and a full 10-night circuit at the high end is between 15,000 to 25,000 plus per person. On the next slide, we discuss the question that always comes up, health and comfort. Clients raise health concerns more often than advisors expect. And having a confident, informed answer is the difference between a client booking or losing them to anxiety. Our proposal itineraries and trip documents do also address this. Malaria. Kenya is endemic and prophylactics are essential, especially in the Mara. Risk is lower in Laikipia due to the altitude. So always direct your clients to a travel clinic at least 6 weeks before departure so that they can understand which malaria medication is best suited to them. Tsetse flies, these are most prevalent in the wooded areas following the rainy season, specifically after the long rains from March to May and the short rains around September to November. Wooded areas up in the Mara North, Savo, East and West, and Samburu after the summer rains are the key zones. But here's a great tip. Dark blue and black clothing, including denim, attracts tsetse flies. So khaki and olive and pale green and pale gray are not just safari fashion. They're actually insect management. Loose fitting, long sleeved shirts, long trousers do protect you from this nuisance. The other thing you will notice is camps drape bushes with black cloth because it attracts the tsetse flies and takes them away from the camp. So stay away from those dark clothing, from wearing dark clothing. Yellow fever, Kenya is endemic. So proof of vaccination is required if your clients are entering another African country after visiting Kenya. And that includes the islands, Seychelles, Mauritius, Zanzibar. The critical rule for a combined itinerary, if clients are combining Kenya and Tanzania, start in Tanzania and end in Kenya. That way they don't need to show proof of yellow fever at the border. For clients over 65 or with health conditions, a yellow fever waiver form from their doctor is required. Again, in working with UJV, we work with you and your clients and make sure everybody is fully prepared to travel. And finally, in our next slide, why book Kenya with UJV Africa? While hopefully after this presentation you feel more comfortable having a conversation about traveling to Kenya, it is complex. You do not need to be a Kenya expert to sell Kenya confidently. That is why we are here. Last year alone, our team visited over 50 properties in Kenya. Not a press trip, not desk research, but boots on the ground, boots in the dirt at these properties. We know which camps have changed management, which ones have lost their magic, and where the hidden gems are, and what's about to become everyone's favorite, Ishara Mara. That's the intelligence we bring to every proposal. What we promise is white glove management and end-to-end accountability. We prepare your client's ETA visa. We handle all the internal flight and that sequencing puzzle. We ensure the logistics flow authentically. And we provide, very importantly, 24/7 in-country support so that when something unexpected happens, and it does, whether it's a passport that gets left in camp or it's malaria medication that gets lost, there is someone on the ground who can solve it immediately, and you are not the one getting that 2 a.m. call. Our goal is simple. We want you to look like the hero when your client comes home and is ready to book their next vacation. And the good news is, if they want to return to Africa, we can help. We operate, and on our next slide, you will see we operate trips to all of these 17 countries and islands featured on this map. We have teams that have knowledge for all of these destinations, support in place, can speak to them and guide you just like we did through Kenya, through every single one of these destinations. And hopefully over the months, we will feature each of these destinations. And with that, I think we can go on to the Q&A section.
Thank you, Gail.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for your wonderful questions. We have a question for Matthew. Ishara Mara is gorgeous, but some of my clients are concerned about tent/canvas versus lodges when it comes to safety with wild animals and insects. Any tips on how to ensure them of their safety when doing tented camps?
So I'll speak specifically about our camp, of course. So our camp has a series of walkways that connect the different areas of camp. Each of those walkways has railings alongside, making it quite difficult for anything to, get up onto those walkways. Alongside the fact that we have Masai Askaris that are our security guards, and they are patrolling the property 24 hours a day. So when you're escorting or sorry, when you're moving around the property, there's always a Masai Askari to escort you to the various areas of camp. And they patrol at night to ensure that nothing is coming into the camp. In terms of insects, of course, we are in the Mara. There are bugs. But what I would say, and I mean this completely honestly, we don't have a big issue with insects here at Ishara. Um, we do have bug spray in the rooms as well. We have bug spray in the safari vehicles. So yeah, we try our best to manage that as much as possible. But in terms of the overall safari experience, I don't think you can compare a tented safari experience to a brick and mortar safari experience. So um, yeah, I would definitely be recommending a tented experience.
Thank you, Matthew. Um, is there AC in the tent?
We don't have AC strictly, but in each of the suites there is a ceiling fan. And then if guests require even more cooling, then we have Dyson tower fans that we can add to the room as a little bit extra.
And then as far as AC intense, typically, I mean, you saw the chart, the weather chart. Typically, it's very temperate. This is equatorial. It's not hot. The areas that do get hot up north, Samburu region, if you're in an exclusive use property, some of these villas, yes, there is air conditioning. Some of the tented camps, no, there is no air conditioning. Again, there are fans. The evenings do cool down. The days are hot. So that is something to be really mindful of when planning it. Look at that chart for weather, for temperatures, because at the time of year, it does matter. But typically, unless it is a brick and mortar, or under, as a more of a structured property, you're not going to have AC in the tents.
Thank you, guys. And we have a question from Emily. What is the minimum age you recommend for children in Kenya?
So this is quite nuanced. With exclusive use properties, newborns, you can take a newborn with you. And that is often a requirement. If they're under a certain age, typically 6, you would need to have a property as exclusive use. However, if we're asking what is an age that they enjoy safari, typically from the age of 6, they start to enjoy safari. They start to engage and interact. And camps that allow 6-year-olds in camp have programs directly meant to help with children and encourage their learning and to keep them involved. Whether it's junior ranger programs, they have all sorts of activities: how to make a bow and arrow, how to build a fire with a stick. They work with the chef in baking. They go to the kitchen garden and pick vegetables to make food. So they really do cultivate an interest in the kids, a lot of nature walks and that sort of thing. So the age that children really start enjoying safari is 6, and most times if they're under the age of 12, you are required to have a private vehicle as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, just to add to what Gail, because I didn't mention it earlier, 6 is our minimum age limit. And we do have a range of activities that can keep kids occupied and allow them to enjoy the safari experience when they're at camp as well. So from bow and arrows to traditional Masai bead making, camp walks with our camp naturalist. Yeah, lots of different things like that for families with kids to enjoy while they're here at Ishara as well.
Right. Well, I think that was the end of some of the questions in the comments. Are there any other questions that you guys have? Right, I don't see any hands popping up or anything popping up. So just to confirm, we will follow this webinar up with an email that'll come from our marketing team with a link to this webinar. They will also included in that email, we will send our UJV agent facing deck, which just helps you in general help determine who a client is, what questions to ask to make sure that they are ready to travel on safari, and helps us plan that safari. And again, please know that we're here to partner with you. So we are always here representing you, not UJV Africa. And we are always happy to jump on a call with you, with your client, and talk them through any of the questions that they may have. Always happy to partner with you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Matthew, Jadip, and Gail, for this
You.
wonderful presentation. And we'll see each other soon. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Have a nice day.
Thanks,
Bye.
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank
Bye.
you.